Want to speak real Japanese from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at JapanesePod101.com.
Imagine you're on a plane. There's someone next to you. What do you say? こんにちは、リサです。Hi, I'm Lisa. Introducing yourself in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, you're going to learn how with Mark and Shunsuke, who meet on a plane. Mark's moving to Tokyo. His family is going to join him later in the month. Shunsuke is in the seat when Mark gets on the plane. Let's watch.
すみません。
あ、すみません。
はじめまして。私はマークです。
マークさん、はじめまして。小林俊介です。
すみません。もう一度お願いします。ゆっくりお願いします。
小林俊介。
小林俊介。
はい、そうです。でも、俊と呼んでください。
俊、よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
Now with English.
すみません。
あ、すみません。
はじめまして。私はマークです。
マークさん、はじめまして。小林俊介です。
すみません。もう一度お願いします。ゆっくりお願いします。
小林俊介。
小林俊介。
はい、そうです。でも、俊と呼んでください。
俊、よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
Here are the keywords from the scene.
私、
私 I わたし私私
でも、
でも but でもでもでも
すみません。
すみません excuse me すみませんすみませんすみません
はじめまして。
はじめまして Nice to meet you はじめましてはじめましてはじめまして
もう一度。
もう一度 Once more もう一度もう一度もう一度
ゆっくり。
ゆっくり slowly ゆっくりゆっくりゆっくり
はい。
はい Yes はいはいはい
Here are the key phrases from the scene.
The first phrase was used by Mark to have the Japanese speaker repeat himself. He said,
もう一度お願いします。
もう一度お願いします
Once more, please.
もう一度お願いしますもう一度お願いします
Now you try it. Now say Mark's line after Shun speaks.
はじめまして、小林俊介です。
すみません。もう一度お願いします。
The second phrase was used by Mark to have the Japanese speaker talk more slowly. Recall what he said.
ゆっくりお願いします。
ゆっくりお願いします。
Slowly, please.
ゆっくりお願いします。
Now you try. Say Mark's next line after he speaks.
すみません。もう一度お願いします。ゆっくりお願いします。
The third phrase was used by Mark and Shun at the end of their self-introductions. Do you remember what they said?
よろしくお願いします。
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 In this situation, meaning, nice to meet you. There's no equivalent in English as the meaning is derived from the context of usage.
よろしくお願いします。
Now you try. Fill in the line for Mark.
でも、俊と呼んでください。
しゅん。よろしくお願いします。
After Mark repeated Shun's name, Shun confirmed that he had the right pronunciation. How did he do that?
はい、そうです。
はい、そうです。
Yes, that's right.
はい、そうです。はい、そうです。
Now it's your turn. Fill in the line for Shun.
小林俊介。
はい、そうです。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to introduce yourself. Ready?
Do you remember how Mark introduced himself in Japanese?
はじめまして。私はマークです。
When Mark introduces himself in Japanese, he starts with a set phrase, meaning, nice to meet you.
はじめまして。
Then he says, I'm Mark.
私はマークです。
The first word in this sentence is
私
I. The next part of the sentence is
は
this is a topic marking particle. It marks I as the topic of the sentence. Think of it like the as for in the expression as for me. The next word of the sentence is the character's name, Mark.
マーク
Mark. Your name goes here when you introduce yourself. Then, the next word in the sentence is
です。
this is like the am in I am. It's a linking verb. Together, it's
私はマークです。
I, Mark, am. In English, I'm Mark. The sentence pattern is
私は
your name.
です。
Now you try. Imagine your name is John. Say, I'm John, in Japanese.
私はジョンです。
I'm John. Now, imagine your name is Aiko. Say, I'm Aiko, in Japanese.
私はアイコです。
I'm Aiko. Now use your own name. There's two things you should know. First, there's a shortcut to giving your name.
小林俊介です。
The only difference is you drop
私は
since it's understood you're talking about yourself. Second, Japanese people usually say their full names, or only their family names, when they introduce themselves.
小林俊介です。
小林
Is a family name.
俊介
is a given name.
小林俊介
In Japanese, the family name comes first and then the given name. He could also just say the family name instead of both the family name and the given name.
小林です
Imagine your name is John Smith. Introduce yourself in the Japanese style, family name first.
私はスミス・ジョンです
Now use the shortcut version.
スミス・ジョンです
Next, you'll learn how to tell people to call you by a nickname, just like Shun did in the scene.
俊と呼んでください。
The first part is
俊
a common nickname for men named Shunsuke. Your own nickname goes here. The next part is
と
which marks a quotation, kind of like a spoken quotation mark. Next is the phrase
呼んでください
please call. Together, it's
俊と呼んでください
please call me Shun. The word for I is not mentioned in the Japanese sentence, but if you say this after introducing your name, it makes perfect sense.
俊と呼んでください
The sentence structure is your nickname.
と呼んでください
Now you try. Imagine your nickname is Matt. Say, please call me Matt in Japanese.
マットと呼んでください
Please call me Matt. Now, imagine your nickname is I. Say, please call me I in Japanese.
愛と呼んでください
Please call me I. Now use your own nickname. Say, please call me your nickname in Japanese.
Now, it's time to practice your new ability.
It's your first day in Japan, and you're meeting your new neighbor. Ready? Here we go. What's the first thing you say to someone you've just met?
はじめまして
How do you tell someone your name?
私は
Your name?
です
はじめまして。私は小林俊介です。
How do you tell someone your nickname? Your nickname.
と呼んでください
俊と呼んでください。
What's the last thing you say to someone you've just met?
よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
Great job! You've just introduced yourself in Japanese. You'll follow this same pattern many times, so be sure to practice it.
よくできました。Now, watch the scene one more time. After that, go and practice with all your Japanese friends or with us in the comments. じゃあまたね。
すみません。
あ、すみません。
はじめまして。私はマークです。
マークさん、はじめまして。小林俊介です。
すみません。もう一度お願いします。ゆっくりお願いします。
小林俊介。
小林俊介。
はい、そうです。でも、俊と呼んでください。
俊、よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
Imagine someone asks you where you're from. How do you respond? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Describing where you're from in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, You're going to learn how. Mark is on a plane to Japan. Let's watch.
あれは富士山ですか？
はい、そうです。
出身は東京ですか？
はい、そうです。あなたは？出身はどこですか？
アメリカです。
ニューヨークですか？
いいえ、違います。ポートランド出身です。
ああ、そうですか。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to talk about where you're from. Ready?
Do you remember how Mark described where he was from?
ポートランド出身です。
First is the word for Portland.
ポートランド
Next is the word for hometown.
出身
Last is a linking verb, which in this case means something like am or is.
です。
Together, it's
ポートランド出身です。
I'm from Portland. Because it's clear that Mark is talking about his hometown, he omits the expression for I.
私は
In some cases, though, you may need to add it to the beginning of the sentence. So basically, the structure is
私は
place.
出身です。
Now you try. Imagine your hometown is London. What would you say?
私はロンドン出身です。
I'm from London. Now imagine your hometown is Tokyo. What would you say?
私は東京出身です。
I'm from Tokyo. Okay, there's another way of saying I'm from Tokyo.
出身は東京です。
First is the word for hometown.
出身
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
And next is the city.
東京
Last is the linking verb, which in this case means is.
です。
Together, it's
出身は東京です。
As for my hometown, Tokyo is. In English, I'm from Tokyo. If you want to place emphasis on the my in my hometown, you can say
私の出身
instead of just.
出身
This isn't necessary when it's clear that you're talking about your hometown, and in most cases, there's no need to emphasize the my. When it is necessary, though, the phrase for my comes first.
私の
The usual sentence structure then is
出身は
place.
です。出身は東京です。
Now, here's how to ask where someone is from.
出身は東京ですか？
This is almost the same as the expression we just learned.
出身は東京です。
The only difference is that at the end of the phrase, you need to add a question marking particle.
か
Put this at the end of the sentence to turn it into a question.
出身は東京ですか？
Is your hometown Tokyo? Or are you from Tokyo? The sentence structure is
出身は
place.
ですか？
Now it's your turn. Imagine you've met someone in New York. Ask if he's from New York.
出身はニューヨークですか？
Are you from New York? Now, if you have no idea where someone's from, you can ask,
出身はどこですか？
Where is your hometown? Or, Where are you from? You can use the same sentence pattern as,
出身はニューヨークですか？
just replace
ニューヨーク
with the word for where.
どこ
Together, it's,
出身はどこですか？
Where is your hometown? Because the sentence is a question, the listener will understand that you're talking about his or her hometown. in Japanese, you don't have to say your hometown,
あなたの出身
but just hometown.
出身
The sentence structure is,
出身はどこですか
now you try. Imagine you've met a new friend in Tokyo. Ask her where she's from.
出身はどこですか
It turns out she's from Tokyo. Now she wants to know where you're from. Pretend you're from New York and answer her question out loud.
出身はどこですか出身はニューヨークです
To simplify things, you can also just say,
ニューヨークです
since it's clear you're answering a question about your hometown.
Imagine you're going through passport control and you have to answer important questions in Japanese. What will you say? こんにちは、Lisa です。Lisa here. Navigating the passport desk in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, you're going to learn how. Mark's plane just arrived in Japan. Let's watch.
次の人どうぞ。パスポートお願いします。
こんにちは。はい、どうぞ。
滞在期間は？
6週間です。
ホテルはどこですか？
富士ホテルです。
仕事ですか？観光ですか？
仕事です。
はい、パスポートありがとうございました。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to navigate passport control. Ready?
Do you remember what the first question the immigration officer asked Mark in the video was?
滞在期間は？
First is a word meaning length of stay.
滞在期間たいざいきかん滞在期間
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
Please note that you need to say this with a rising intonation in order to make it a question. A literal translation might be, the length of stay is? It's as if the immigration officer is leaving the second part of the sentence blank for you to fill it in with the length of your stay.
滞在期間は
One possible answer to this question is a sentence meaning something like, it's for 6 weeks.
6週間です
First is a phrase meaning, for 6 weeks.
6週間6週間6週間
For 6 weeks. Add
です
at the end to make it a complete sentence, meaning, it's for 6 weeks.
6週間です
In this case, the pronoun it indicates the length of stay, but you don't have to say the Japanese word here. Just say
6週間です
the sentence structure to answer the question,
滞在期間は
or how long is your stay, is number of weeks or days.
間です
Imagine you're going to stay for 2 weeks. Answer the question.
滞在期間は2週間です
Do you remember the second question the immigration officer asked Mark in the scene?
ホテルはどこですか？
First is the word for hotel.
ホテルホテルホテル
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is the word for where.
どこ
Next is a linking verb, to be, which in this case means is.
です
Last is the question marking particle.
か
Together, it's
ホテルはどこですか
where is your hotel? You can answer this question by saying your hotel name and
です富士ホテルです
A literal translation might be, Fuji Hotel is, but it's the natural way of answering that you're staying at Fuji Hotel. The sentence structure to answer the question,
ホテルはどこですか
or where will you stay, is your hotel name.
です。
Imagine you will be staying at the Tokyo Hilton Hotel. Answer the question.
ホテルはどこですか東京ヒルトンホテルです。
Do you remember the third question the immigration officer asked Mark in the scene?
仕事ですか？観光ですか？
This question is about Mark's purpose of stay.
滞在目的、
First here is the word for stay.
滞在、たいざい、滞在、
Next is the word for purpose.
目的、目的、目的、
Together, they mean purpose of stay.
滞在目的、
So an extended version of the immigration officer's question would be, is the purpose of your stay business or sightseeing?
滞在目的は仕事ですか観光ですか
First is a phrase meaning purpose of stay.
滞在目的
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is the word for business.
仕事、しごと、仕事、
Next is a linking verb, which in this case means is.
です。
And last is the question marking particle.
か、
Together, this sentence means, is the purpose of your stay business?
滞在目的は仕事ですか
Or you can naturally translate it as, are you here on business? After this comes another question, meaning, is it sightseeing?
観光ですか
This uses the same pattern as the expression meaning, is it business?
仕事ですか
So the full sentence would be,
滞在目的は観光ですか
but the first part
滞在目的は
is dropped here. First is a word meaning sightseeing.
観光、かんこう、観光、
In this pattern, it becomes,
観光ですか
is the purpose of stay sightseeing? Or more naturally in English, are you here for sightseeing? Also, note that between the two question sentences,
仕事ですか観光ですか
the conjunction or is not used.
仕事ですか観光ですか
Is the purpose of your stay business or sightseeing? Or are you here on business or for sightseeing? If your trip is for business, you would say,
仕事です。
a literal translation of this would simply be, business is, but it's the natural way of saying, I'm here on business. Now you try. Imagine your trip is for sightseeing. Answer the question.
仕事ですか観光ですか観光です。
An immigration officer might also say,
滞在目的は
meaning, the purpose of your stay is? It's the same structure as the first question.
滞在期間は
So, just as if you're filling in the second part of the sentence, you can answer by saying your purpose and
です。
now you try. Imagine you're visiting Japan on business. Answer the question.
滞在目的は仕事です。
Imagine you meet someone in Japan that you want to stay in touch with. What do you do? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Exchanging contact information in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, you learn how. Mark is waiting for the bus outside the airport when he sees a new friend from the plane. Let's watch.
また会えてよかったです。
こちらこそ。
これは私の名刺です。個人のメールアドレスと電話番号はこれです。
ありがとうございます。私の名刺です。どうぞ。個人のメールアドレスはこれです。メールください。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
それではまた。楽しい旅行を。
はい。ありがとうございます。また。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to exchange contact information. Ready?
Do you remember what Mark said when he handed Kyoko his business card?
これは私の名刺です。
When you give something to someone, you can describe it by saying,
これは
the thing you are giving.
です。
In this case, Mark is handing over his business card.
名詞
The sentence starts with the word for this.
これ
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is a phrase meaning my.
私の
Next is the word for business card.
名詞
At the end is a linking verb, which acts like is in this case.
です。
Together it's
これは私の名詞です。
this my business card is. Or more naturally, this is my business card. The sentence structure is
これは
the thing you are giving.
です。
Imagine you are giving someone a present.
プレゼント
What would you say?
これはプレゼントです。
This is a present. Now imagine you are giving your friend a box of chocolates.
チョコレート
What would you say?
これはチョコレートです。
This is chocolate. Later in the conversation, Mark wanted to draw attention to a particular piece of information on his business card. In this case, his personal email address and phone number. Do you remember what he said?
個人のメールアドレスと電話番号はこれです。
First is the word for individual.
個人個人
This word is often used to distinguish an individual person from a member of a company or school. Next is the possession marking particle.
の
Together, they make a phrase meaning personal or private.
個人の
After this is the word for email address.
メールアドレス
Next is the word for and.
と
And then the phrase for phone number.
電話番号
Next, the topic marking particle.
は
After this is the word for this or here.
これ
And last is the linking verb, in this case meaning is.
です。
The personal email address and phone number is the topic here because it's the thing Mark wanted to draw attention to. It's therefore placed at the beginning of the sentence.
個人のメールアドレスと電話番号
And then it is immediately followed by the topic marking particle.
は
My personal email address and phone number are here.
個人のメールアドレスと電話番号はこれです。
Now you try. What do you say if you want to point out your company email address? Company in Japanese is
会社会社会社
say, my company email address is here.
会社のメールアドレスはこれです。
My company email address is here. Do you remember what Kyoko said after she pointed out her personal email address on her own business card?
メールください。
First is the word for email.
メールメールメール
After that is an expression meaning Please give me.
ください。ください。ください。
Together, it's
メールください。
please give me an email. In more natural English, email me. To ask for almost anything, you can use this same handy sentence structure. Object plus.
ください。
Now you try. Imagine you want some water, which in Japanese is
水。水。水。
say, please give me water.
水ください。
Please give me water. Or water please. Now you want someone to give you a phone call. Or
電話。
in Japanese.
電話。でんわ。電話。
Say, please call.
電話ください。
Please give me a phone call. Or more naturally, call me.
Imagine you're at the front desk of a hotel. How do you check in? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Checking in at a hotel in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, you learn how. Mark just arrived at his hotel. Let's watch.
いらっしゃいませ。
こんにちは。チェックインをお願いします。マーク・タッガードです。
タッガード様、お名前の綴りをお願いします。
T-A-G-G-A-R-T。
ありがとうございます。はい、タッガード様ですね。こちらがお部屋の鍵でございます。
ホテルに売店はありますか？
いいえ、でも隣にコンビニがあります。
それから部屋にシャンプーとコンディショナーはありますか？
はい、あります。
ありがとう。あ、それから7時にモーニングコールをお願いします。
かしこまりました。
朝食は何時からですか
1階ダイニングルームで6時から7時半まででございます。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to check in at the hotel. Ready?
Do you remember how Mark told the hotel clerk that he wanted to check in?
チェックインをお願いします。
First is the word for check-in.
チェックイン。チェックイン。チェックイン。
Next is the object marking particle.
お。
After this is the word for please.
お願いします。
Together, it's
チェックインをお願いします。
check-in, please. Do you remember how to say passport, please?
パスポートお願いします。
These two expressions are very similar. The only difference is the object marking particle.
お。
Which follows the word for check-in, but not the word for passport. Actually, you can use either expression with or without the object marking particle. So this sentence structure, which you can use to ask for something or to ask someone to do something for you, is something you want plus
お。お願いします。
or something you want plus.
お願いします。
Now you try. Ask your favorite singer for his autograph.
サイン。サインをお願いします。
Your autograph, please. Now ask a waiter to take an order
オーダー。
for you.
オーダーをお願いします。
Order, please. Do you remember in the scene how Mark requested a wake-up call?
モーニングコール
He used a sentence structure that is almost identical to the one for checking in.
7時にモーニングコールをお願いします。
The latter part of the sentence, meaning a wake-up call, please, is
モーニングコールをお願いします
and uses the same pattern as asking for a check-in. The phrase added at the beginning means at 7 o'clock.
7時に
First is a phrase meaning 7 o'clock.
7時
After it is a particle marking time.
に
It's equivalent to at in English. Together, the phrase meaning at 7 o'clock is
7時に
placed at the beginning of the sentence. It's
7時にモーニングコールをお願いします
a wake-up call at 7 o'clock, please. Now you try. Say, a wake-up call at 6 o'clock, please.
6時にモーニングコールをお願いします
Do you remember how Mark asked the hotel clerk if there was a shop in the hotel?
ホテルに売店はありますか？
First is the word for hotel.
ホテル
Next is a place marking particle, which is equivalent to in or at in English.
に
After that is the word for shop.
売店売店売店
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is the word for to be or to exist.
ありますありますあります
Last is the question marking particle.
か
Together, it's
ホテルに売店はありますか
literally, as for a shop, does it exist in the hotel? More naturally, this would be, is there a shop in the hotel? The sentence structure is place
に
something.
はありますか
Is there something in or at place? It's important to note that the something here must be an inanimate object, like a chair, shop, or tire, because you can only use
あります
with inanimate objects. For people, animals, and other animate things, you'll need to use another word. Now you try. You want to ask if there's a gym in the hotel. Gym in Japanese is
ジムジムジム
ask if there's a gym in the hotel.
ホテルにジムはありますか
Now you want to know if there's a television in the room. Television is
テレビテレビテレビ
ask if there is a television in the room.
部屋にテレビはありますか
Do you remember how Mark asked what time breakfast is from?
朝食は何時からですか？
First, a non-question version of the sentence. Breakfast is from 6 o'clock is
朝食は6時からです
it starts with the word for breakfast.
朝食朝食朝食
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is a phrase for 6 o'clock.
6時
Next is a word for from.
から
Last is the linking verb, in this case, is.
です
As for breakfast, it's from 6 o'clock. Naturally, breakfast is from 6 o'clock.
朝食は6時からです
Be careful, because the word order is different in English. From 6 o'clock would be,
6時から
in a word-for-word translation, it would be 6 o'clock from. Here's the phrase for from 7 o'clock.
7時から
Now, here's a phrase meaning from what time?
何時から 何時から何時から
So, how do you ask, from what time is breakfast?
朝食は何時からですか
Just replace 6 o'clock
6時
with the phrase meaning, what time?
何時
And add a question marking particle
か
at the end. Together, it's,
朝食は何時からですか
what time is breakfast from? Or, what time does breakfast start? The sentence structure is something
は何時からですか
What time is something from? Now you try. Ask what time check-in is from.
チェックインは何時からですか
What time is check-in from? Now you want to ask what time a certain movie starts. Movie is
映画えいが映画
ask, what time is this movie from?
この映画は何時からですか
What time is this movie from? How did the hotel clerk answer when Mark asked him what time breakfast was?
1階ダイニングルームで6時から7時半まででございます。
Usually, breakfast is available for a few hours, so the hotel clerk answered with the time frame that breakfast is available. How did he explain this time frame? It's from 6 o'clock to 7:30.
6時から7時半まででございます。
Here's a phrase meaning from 6 o'clock,
6時から
and here's a phrase for to 7:30.
7時半まで
Again, be careful about the word order. A word-for-word translation of
7時半まで
would be 7:30 to. Together, the phrase is
6時から7時半まで
from 6 o'clock to 7:30. So the phrase structure for time duration is time A,
から
time B,
まで
from A to B. Now you try. How do you say from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock?
3時から5時まで
Now how do you say from what time to what time?
何時から何時まで
Now ask from what time to what time breakfast is.
朝食は何時から何時までですか
Imagine you're at the convenience store. You've made your choices and now it's time to pay. How do you do it? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Buying something in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, you learn how. Mark has stopped by a store to buy some food and drink. Let's watch.
いらっしゃいませ。
こんにちは。あ、これは何ですか？
それは肉まんです。
いくらですか？
100円です。
じゃあこれを2個ください。
はい。お会計は1200円です。800円のお釣りです。ありがとうございました。
ありがとう。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to buy something at the convenience store. Ready?
Do you remember how Mark asked what something was when he saw it in a case next to the register?
これは何ですか？
This is similar to how you would say, this is chocolate. Do you remember this from a previous lesson?
これはチョコレートです。
This is a chocolate. Now, to form a yes or no question, you simply add
か
at the end of the sentence. So, is this chocolate? Would be
これはチョコレートですか
if you have no idea what something is, though, or simply want to ask, what is this? Just replace
チョコレート
with the word for what.
なん
Combined, this is
これは何ですか
what is this? The primary reading of this kanji is,
何
but when it's used in this sentence,
これは何ですか
it's read as,
なん
what is this?
これは何ですか
The sentence structure is, something you want to ask about.
は何ですか
Now you try. Someone is holding something in their hand. Ask what that is.
それは何ですか
Now, you see something in the distance, far from both you and the listener. Ask what that is over there.
あれは何ですか
Do you remember how Mark asked for the price of the steamed meat bun in the video?
いくらですか？
This common question follows a similar sentence pattern to, what is this?
これは何ですか
In this case, you just replace
何
with the word for how much.
いくら
You'll get,
これはいくらですか
how much is this? If it's very clear what you're asking about, as it is in this video, you can omit the word for this
これ
and the topic marking particle
は
and just say, how much is it?
いくらですか
The sentence structure is, something you want to ask for.
はいくらですか
Now you try. You want to buy a t-shirt, which is,
T シャツ T シャツ T シャツ
ask how much a t-shirt is.
T シャツはいくらですか
You are choosing a cake at a bakery. Cake is,
ケーキケーキケーキ
ask how much the cake you are pointing at is.
このケーキはいくらですか
Do you remember how Mark asked the shop clerk to give him 2 steamed meat buns?
これを2個ください。
Recall a phrase you use to ask for something. For example, the sentence for water please is,
水ください
you can also insert the object marking particle
お
and say,
水をください
so the sentence for this please is,
これをください
but what if you want to specify that you want 2 of the thing you are pointing at? Just add 2 pieces
2個
before the word for please.
ください
2 pieces of this please.
これを2個ください
The sentence structure is, the object you want plus the object marking particle
お
plus the number of things you want, and finally,
ください
now you try. Say, 3 pieces of this, please.
これを3個ください
Say, 5 bottles of water, please.
水を5本ください
Imagine you're meeting someone at his or her office. You're at the reception desk. What do you say? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Talking about appointments in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, you learn how. Mark has come to his friend's company. Let's watch.
おはようございます。
おはようございます。 中村様と1時に約束があります。
お名前をお願いします。
タッカードです。
タッカード様、少しお待ちください。申し訳ございません。中村は会議のため少し遅れます。少しお待ちいただけますか？
どれくらいですか？
10分ほどです。ここでお待ちいただけますか？
わかりました。
あちらの席におかけください。
はい、わかりました。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to talk about appointments. Ready?
How did Mark explain to the secretary that he had an appointment with Yoshi?
中村様と1時に約束があります。
First is the name Mr. Nakamura.
中村様、
This is Yoshi's family name. At the end is the honorific suffix.
様、
It's common in business settings to use this suffix
様、
for people belonging to other companies. Adding it to the family name shows respect. Next is a particle meaning with.
と、
After this is the phrase for 1 o'clock.
1時、
Next is the time marking particle. Here it means at.
に、
After this is the word for appointment.
約束
Next is the subject marking particle.
が
Last is the word for to be or to exist, as you learned in a previous lesson.
あります。
This verb can also mean something like to have. So
約束があります。
is a way of saying, I have an appointment. Together, this sentence is,
中村様と1時に約束があります。
I have an appointment with Mr. Nakamura at 1 o'clock. In the Japanese sentence, the word for I is omitted because its meaning is clear from the context. When you want to say that you have an appointment with someone at a certain time, you can use a simple sentence pattern. Someone's name,
と、
time.
に約束があります。
Now you try. Imagine you have an appointment with Mr. Sato at 10 o'clock. What do you say?
佐藤様と10時に約束があります。
I have an appointment with Mr. Sato at 10 o'clock. In the scene, how did the secretary say the name Mr. Nakamura?
中村は会議のため少し遅れます。
The secretary just called him
中村、
without any suffix. In Japan, when talking to someone outside their group about someone inside their own group, whether it's their company, family, or some other organization, people won't add a suffix to the person's name. This is true no matter how high-ranking any of the people involved are. Do you remember what Mark asked after he was told that Mr. Nakamura would be a little late?
どれくらいですか？
First is the phrase for how long.
どれくらい、
In this case, it means how long. It can also mean how much. After this is a linking verb. Here it means something like is or will be.
です。
Last is the question marking particle.
か、
Together, it's
どれくらいですか？
how long is it? Or how long will it take? Whenever you want to ask how long something will take, you can use the question,
どれくらいですか？
how long will it take? Now you try. Imagine you're ordering a pizza and are being asked to wait. Ask how long it will take.
どれくらいですか？
You may get an answer like,
1時間くらいです。
it'll be about 1 hour. Now imagine you're at the doctor's office. You're being asked to wait because there are many other patients there. Ask how long it will take.
どれくらいですか？
You may get an answer like,
2時間くらいです。
it will take about 2 hours.
Imagine You're meeting your old friend in Japan. What should you say? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Greeting an old friend is easy. In this lesson, you learn how. Mark is waiting for his friend who is in a meeting. Let's watch.
タッガード様、お待たせしました。中村が参りました。
よし、
マーク、お久しぶりです。
本当にお久しぶりです。
元気ですか？
元気です。よしは元気ですか？
忙しいです。でも、元気です。
それはよかったです。これ、アメリカのお土産です。
ありがとう。じゃあ、昼ご飯を食べましょう。そこで、いろいろ話しましょ
う。いいですね。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to greet an old friend. Ready?
Do you remember how Yoshi greeted Mark in the scene?
お久しぶりです。
First is the honorific prefix. O. Next is a word meaning, it's been a long time.
久しぶり。ひさしぶり。久しぶり。
Now you can just say,
久しぶり
to mean long time no see in an informal conversation. But if you want to be a bit more formal, add
です。
at the end.
久しぶりです。
Now, to be even more formal, like Yoshi in the scene, you put the honorific prefix
お
of the phrase.
久しぶりです。
Together, it's
久しぶりです。
or long time no see for formal situations. Again, here are 3 ways to say long time no see in Japanese depending on the formality of the situation. First is the casual version.
久しぶり。
Next is a polite expression.
久しぶりです。
Last is a very polite expression.
お久しぶりです。
Now you try. Imagine you meet a close friend for the first time in a long time. What do you say?
久しぶり。
Now imagine you're meeting an acquaintance for the first time in a long time, but the circumstances are relatively informal. Say, long time no see, in a polite way.
久しぶりです。
Now you're meeting an acquaintance for the first time in a long time in a business setting. Greet this acquaintance in a very polite way.
お久しぶりです。
Do you remember how Yoshi asked Mark how he was?
元気ですか？
First is the word for fine or well.
元気。げんき。元気。
Next is the linking verb, here meaning something like are.
です。
Last is the question marking particle.
か。
Are you fine?
元気ですか？げんきですか？元気ですか？
This is equivalent to how are you in English. In a full sentence, this might be,
あなたは元気ですか？
but the you
あなたは
is clear from the context and so is omitted. Instead, you can just say,
元気ですか？
in a casual situation, such as when you meet a close friend, you can also just say,
元気？
to ask, how are you? Be sure to say it with a rising intonation.
元気？
How are you? Now you try. Imagine you see an old acquaintance. Ask, how are you?
元気ですか？
Now imagine it's your close friend. Ask, how are you?
元気？
Do you remember how Mark answered when Yoshi asked him how he was doing?
元気です。
This means, I'm fine.
元気です。げんきです元気です
You don't need to always answer this way. If you're not doing well, you could say so-so or not bad. Here's the expression for this in Japanese.
まあまあです
Also, in business settings, you may hear people say, I'm busy.
忙しいです
In business settings, people will usually answer
元気ですか
by talking about how the business is doing and not about themselves. Saying, I'm busy,
忙しいです
is a good thing when it comes to business, and Yoshi says this in the scene.
忙しいです。
Now you try. Imagine you're doing fine. Answer the question, how are you?
元気です
Now imagine you're not bad. Answer the question, how are you?
まあまあです
Now you're busy. Answer the question, how are you?
忙しいです
Imagine your friends ask you about your future. Can you talk about your plans? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Talking about future plans in Japanese is easy. Mark is having lunch with Yoshi and talking about his family who is coming to Japan soon. Let's watch.
家族はいつ日本に来ますか？
カレンと子供たちは金曜日に来ます。
奥さんは日本で仕事をしますか？
カレンはライターの仕事を続けます。
それはいいですね。子供たちは？
サーシャはインターナショナルスクールに行きます。
サーシャはすぐに日本語を覚えますよ。
そうですね。ベンは日本の高校に行きます。
それは大変ですね。大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫ですよ。でも最初は大変でしょう。
Now the lesson focus. Here's how to talk about your plans. Ready?
In the scene, do you remember how Yoshi asked Mark when his family would be coming to Japan?
家族はいつ日本に来ますか？
First is the word for family.
家族
In this case, it means your family, although your
あなたの
is not mentioned in Japanese as it's clear from context. Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is the word for when.
いつ
Next is the word for Japan.
日本
Attached to this is a particle indicating the place toward which someone moves.
に
It's equivalent to in English, as in come to. Next is the word for to come.
来ます
Together, come to Japan is.
日本に来ます
Last is the question marking particle.
か
Together, it's.
家族はいつ日本に来ますか
As for your family, when come to Japan. More naturally, when will your family come to Japan? The verb
来ます
is in the non-past tense in Japanese. This tense is used to refer to future as well as present actions.
家族はいつ日本に来ますか
Here the sentence is asking about when something is happening. So it is understood from context that it is asking about a future action.
家族はいつ日本に来ますか
The structure of the question, when will someone do something, is someone,
はいつ
non-past tense of a verb.
か
Now you try. Ask, when will your wife come to America?
奥さんはい いつアメリカに来ますか？
Now ask, when will the children eat lunch?
子供たちはいつ昼ご飯を食べますか？
In the scene, how did Mark describe what his daughter would be doing in Japan?
サーシャはインターナショナルスクールに行きます。
First is Sasha, the name of Mark's daughter.
サーシャ
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is the word for international school.
インターナショナルスクール
Next is a particle indicating a place toward which someone moves.
に
This is the same as to in English, as in go to. Last is the word for to go.
行きます。
Together, go to an international school is
インターナショナルスクールに行きます。
the verb
行きます。
is the non-past tense of a verb which refers to a future action in this context. Sasha will go to an international school.
サーシャはインターナショナルスクールに行きます。
The sentence structure to say someone will go to place is someone
は
place
に行きます。
someone will go to place. You are asked what you will do tomorrow. Please answer, I'll go to New York.
私はニューヨークに行きます。
Do you remember how Mark said that he thinks it'll be difficult for Ben when he first starts school?
最初は大変でしょう。
First is the word for beginning.
最初さいしょ最初
Next is the topic marking particle.
は
After this is the word for difficult.
大変たいへん大変
Last is a sentence ending phrase indicating probability, possibility, or a conjecture or guess on the part of the speaker.
でしょう
The beginning will probably be tough.
最初は大変でしょう
Please say, tomorrow will probably be tough.
明日は大変でしょう
You think work is probably tough. What do you say?
仕事は大変でしょう
Imagine you want to buy tickets for a train to Tokyo. How do you do it? こんにちは、リサです。Lisa here. Buying train tickets in Japanese is easy. In this lesson, you learn how. Yoshi and Mark have come to meet Mark's family at the airport. Let's watch.
東京までの切符を5枚ください。
はい。大人5枚ですか？
子供料金は何歳までですか？
子供料金は10歳未満のお子様までです。10歳以上のお子様は大人料金です。
わかりました。サーシャは8歳ですよね。
はい。
そしてベンは10歳以上ですね。だから大人4枚と子供1枚。
はい。東京まで大人4枚、子供1枚ですね。合計1万円です。
よし、私が払います。
いいですよ。私が払います。
Now, the lesson focus. Here's how to buy tickets in Japan. Ready?
Do you remember how Yoshi asked for 5 tickets to Tokyo?
東京までの切符を5枚ください。
In a previous lesson, Mark said, 2 of these, please, when he was at a convenience store.
これを2個ください。
Here, Yoshi used the same sentence structure, the desired object, plus the object marking particle,
を
plus the number of things you want, and
ください。
now say you want 5 tickets. Ticket is
切符。
5 tickets, please, then is
切符を5枚ください。
instead of just tickets, though, Yoshi asked specifically for tickets to Tokyo. The phrase meaning ticket to Tokyo is
東京までの切符。
first is Tokyo.
東京
Next is a particle describing the extent of motion, often translating to or up to in English.
まで。東京まで
To Tokyo. Please note that in Japanese, the word for to comes after the place to which it's pointing. Next is the possession marking particle, which is here used to connect to and modify the following word.
の
The phrase meaning to Tokyo
東京まで
modifies ticket.
切符
Together it's
東京までの切符
ticket, which is to Tokyo, or ticket to Tokyo. 5 tickets to Tokyo, please, then is
東京までの切符を5枚ください。
the sentence structure is destination plus
までの切符
plus
を
plus number of tickets you want plus
ください。
now you try. Say 2 tickets to Kyoto, please.
京都までの切符を2枚ください。
Now say 2 tickets to Osaka, please.
大阪までの切符を2枚ください。
Do you remember how Yoshi asked about eligibility for child tickets?
子供料金は何歳までですか？
First is the word for child.
子供
Next is the word for fee.
料金
Together, child fee or child ticket is.
子供料金
After this is the topic marking particle.
は
Next is the word for what.
何
After this is the word for age.
歳
Here, it acts as a suffix meaning years old. What age or how old, then, is.
何歳
After this is a particle indicating a time limitation. It's equivalent to until or to in English.
まで
When added to the end of the phrase meaning how old, it's
何歳まで
literally what age until. In English, until what age? Following this is the linking verb.
です
And last is the question marking particle.
か子供料金は何歳までですか
As for a child ticket, until what age is it? More naturally, up until what age can you get a child ticket? The sentence structure to ask what age something is available until, then, is something plus.
は何歳までですか
Now you try. Usually, in Japan, you don't need to buy a ticket on a bus or a train for a baby. Free or free ticket in Japanese is.
無料無料う無料
Ask what age is a free ticket available until.
無料は何歳までですか
Some restaurants in Japan offer a half-price lunch for children. Half price in Japanese is.
半額はんがく半額
Ask what age the half price is available until.
半額は何歳までですか
Do you remember how Yoshi asked for 4 adult tickets and 1 child ticket in the scene?
大人4枚と子供1枚。
First is the word for adult.
大人
In this case, it implies adult ticket, but you can just say adult
大人
to mean adult ticket in the context of buying tickets. Next is a phrase for 4 sheets. In this case, it means 4 tickets.
4枚
4 adult tickets, then, is
大人4枚
next is a particle meaning and.
と
After this is the word for child.
子供
Last is a phrase for 1 sheet.
1枚
1 child ticket, then, is
子供1枚
together, it's
大人4枚と子供1枚
4 adult tickets and 1 child ticket. The structure is ticket type, which is
大人
or
子供
plus number of tickets you want. Now you try. Ask a ticket clerk to give you 2 adult tickets.
大人2枚
Now ask a ticket clerk to get you 1 adult ticket and 3 child tickets.
大人1枚と子供3枚
Like this quick lesson? Watch the full version at JapanesePod101.com to understand the whole dialogue. While you're there, learn all about Japanese culture with our audio lessons and cultural word lists. Sign up for your free lifetime account at JapanesePod101.com. じゃあまたね